Didi, can I read you a paragraph or two from a letter that was published from, it was written by Councillor Henderson. Now the question comes up, what is UGU going to do about saving water? Not much, I presume. I'm sure every resident living in this district will agree with me that UGU is indeed the biggest culprit as far as water wastage is concerned. The extent of this wastage was revealed following a question at a recent meeting there by the country club that I attended. The official admitted that a staggering 28% of all potable water treated goes to waste every month.
Okay, firstly, I say this with the greatest of respect while not mentioning any names, is that UGU has 34 councillors. And the council is the highest decision-making body, and the council is the collective leadership of this municipality who have oversight over the council. So when a councillor asks a question about this municipality, he should be in a position, or she should be in a position to answer that question, because they are part of the municipality. They serve in portfolio committees, they serve in executive committees, they serve in the council. So they have various platforms and ample opportunities to raise issues for which they are not happy with, interrogate issues for which they are not, and hold their officials accountable to be able to perform in terms of what their mandated tasks are, and for which they get paid, mind you, a fairly decent remuneration at that. But it becomes a concern for us when you find that people who are part of the collective leadership who should be maintaining oversight are the ones who are asking the questions that the community should be asking and they should be answering. Now being specific, Councillor Henderson has never raised this at any forum that I've attended where he has been present. Even at the last council meeting, if he felt so strongly about this, he could have done a notice of motion to the council, which he didn't do. So when you have a councillor who have all these forums to deal with these matters, then goes to the media and says UGU is the biggest culprit, I think firstly it's a serious indictment on himself and his leadership and his participation in this council. Let me just deal with that there. But on the issue of 20% water losses, I think if people don't understand how things work, or they don't understand certain terminology, they must clarify that before they go out, because when you make pronouncements and you mislead people, it's very problematic. Now when you say 28% water loss, we have a term for it, what we call 28% non-revenue water. Now non-revenue water means that for all the water that we are producing, reticulating and billing and selling, 28% of it is water that we are not receiving revenue for. That doesn't mean that 28% is being wasted. There's a whole host of reasons. You have firstly, illegal connections, where people are using the water, and you know illegal connections are very rife. Then you could have leaks that are not detected. Now, we have 750,000 people. You know the extent of this district, and you know where all our water infrastructure is located, some in areas that are not even accessible. So you could have a leak. So it all adds to that. So it's not a question of producing the water and you're wasting 28%. And then the other thing is, Johan, I think you can do the research. 28% for us as UGU is high, and we really want to drop that, and we have clear plan how to do that. But look at what the national averages are, and what the non-revenue water losses are in the other municipalities. And then you answer the question as to whether it's staggering and whether it's favorable, because you need to understand that in reticulating water, there are various issues why this happens, and it happens all over the country, not even all over the world, where you got to be able to cater for this loss. In any organization, there is that what they call the loss part of it, and that's where this comes in. So for us, 28% is not acceptable, but if you look at it within the national averages, I don't think it's as bad as one is making it out to be.
Didi, now the second part, he says now comes the serious matter. When UGU does act, it digs up and destroys ailing infrastructure in the efforts to solve the problem.
Firstly, I think there's two issues there. The first issue is the repair. Now, obviously, when there's a break, it has to be repaired. And I think in many instances, the break is occurring in old infrastructure, which is then what they call your asbestos pipes. And we know that this is very fragile, and after a lot of time, it becomes very brittle. So we've got to be very careful how we repair that. So I'm not sure how we destroy that infrastructure when we repair it, because it has to be repaired if it's a leak. So I'm not really sure what the issue there is that when we repair it. Secondly, we have a situation where the team repairs it sometimes late at night, it's an emergency, and then a day or two later, we have people who are supposed to come and fix it. Now, on that matter, we've had some challenges. The truth of the matter is that we've had some challenges. Our response times in repairing or basically backfilling and re-establishing that embankment or road or whatever has been taking a while. But what we have since done is that we have now procured service providers, and we have service providers in all the areas that deal with this. So this used to be an issue, but it's not such a serious issue anymore because we have now dealt with it. So I think what he's doing is making a generalized statement talking from history. We have dealt with this matter. There may be a few examples where we are taking time to deal with it, but I think largely we are dealing with it because we have a lot of service providers who deal with it immediately.
But what it also means is the people who fix the pipes don't fill the hole. Is that basically what
Yes, you need to understand that. Let me give you an example. And I think that's why I said, when you make statements, you must understand, and it doesn't speak well if you are part of the collective leadership and you have to oversee that you yourself don't know the processes within your own municipality. So maybe I need to speak to the speaker or the mayor to take councillors through processes of how things happen so that when they share information with the public, they'll give the public the correct information. Johan, what happens is that you know how many times you call me in Shelly Beach, sometimes late at night. So the team that comes there is a plumbing team. Now let's say that break is in a road. They'll dig up, fix the pipe. But remember now, they don't have all the equipment to re-establish that hole or whatever they have done there. So what they do is that they barricade it, and then we now have teams who are like specialist civil engineering contractors who will then come and reinstate that bank or reinstate that road or whatever the case might be. And we now have a system where we then pass that on, and within a day or two, the other company. But also what you need to understand, Johan, is that when you dig up, and you must remember there was a huge hole there, and there's a lot of moisture because it was leaking. So now when you fix the hole, you've got to allow time for that sand to dry, because imagine you're filling on wet soil. What happens when it dries? It sinks, and you get another hole there. So you've got to allow a couple, and that's why we barricade it, and then after a couple of days, we do come and fix it. But like I've said, you just need to call us and say, listen, this is where it happens. But what we have now is another system where if there's a break, we follow that up, and we follow it right to its conclusion. And the person who has reported it, if we have a person reported, we're now calling them and say, are you happy? And if they obviously dug up the driveway, not reinstated, or the garden, then we pick that up quickly and we deal with it. So we are now having a quality assurance where consumers are being phoned to find out, are you happy with the job that is done? Is the job fully done to your satisfaction?
You see, there are also people who maintain that they let you guys know about a break. And it takes 3 to 4 days before somebody arrives. In the meantime, water goes to waste. Okay.
On that one, I'm not sure if it takes 3 to 4 days, but you need to understand again that we have a huge area to deal with. We have a lot of infrastructure, and we don't have plumbers who are on standby waiting for jobs. The plumbers are all over. And therefore, we find the situation that when there's a break, we have to find a plumber and send him there. Sometimes we go there and we find that it's a huge problem. And people need to understand that a lot of the infrastructure, a lot of the pipes were laid when there was no development. Okay? Now we have development. What happens when you got concrete over it? So for us to get to the pipe, it takes a long time. You need specialized equipment. So there will be those cases where, but we don't want to make excuses. We are working towards trying to get a response time that's much quicker. We're coming up with a customer services charter where we want to then enter into an agreement with the community to say that within so many hours we'll respond to the break, and whatever the issues are, we'll then deal with that. So we will be coming out with that, and obviously then you can measure us by that. But I think there are instances, but let us not exaggerate this thing. The issue of taking 3 or 4 days is more the exception rather than the rule. Because the truth of the matter is that we respond, and I think I will send you a few of them. Some of the community and some of the people have sent us messages thanking the municipality for the way. I think you have seen it, for the way that we have responded. So it can't be that as Councillor Henderson is making it out that everything is doom and gloom, because there are instances where the municipality reacts and responds on time. We need to look at that. But I think the issue of 3 or 4 days, probably more the exception than the rule. And I'm inviting anybody where they've had a situation where they've reported and for 3 or 4 days nothing has happened to email me or drop a line. And my number is common knowledge for everybody. Call me and let me have a look at it. But don't exaggerate it and make it like it's, the norm.